31 years old when she went missing from her hometown of Worthing. She was last seen on CCTV on the 7th of March 2018, which we will come back to later. Georgina grew up in Libya until 1998, when her family moved to the United Kingdom and settled in Worthing. It was a difficult time for Georgina, and she struggled with her new environment, struggling many times with her self-esteem. Later on, Georgina took the challenging role as a single mother. She cared for her 2 children, and they both spent time between parents. And although she was a doting mum when they were around, she would sometimes return to her old habits and go in and out of erratic phases. Gina, now a single mum, dated a few men. Her last relationship was rocky, and she decided the best thing to do would be to move back in with her mother. Georgina aimed to look for places to live, which included Worthing and also Portslade and Brighton. On the 7th of March 2018 to be exact, Georgina left her home around 9:30 a.m. to go and buy a SIM card in her local shop in Clifton Road, Worthing. This was later proved by CCTV footage that was recorded inside the shop Georgina visited in Clifton Road. She showed her SIM card to a member of staff, but upon looking at it, they made the decision that a specialist was needed on this occasion. Georgina is shown on the CCTV, leaving the shop the same way that she entered. It has been said that this is the only reliable source of CCTV available showing Georgina's last movements. Later that day, Georgina was supposed to be visiting her dad and also seeking out job opportunities and visiting the job centre. None of these events took place, and it's unknown where Georgina went for a long period throughout the day. Police finally made an announcement and revealed that they had found some possible further CCTV footage from Chapel Road in Worthing at 4 p.m. on the day of Georgina's disappearance. It showed someone who looked remarkably similar to Georgina, walking alongside a lady, and although the image was grainy, her mother is certain it was her daughter. She said, "I know how my daughter walks, I'm certain it is Georgina." This has sometimes been disputed, and also by the police. They have mentioned that there appears to be a change of clothes, and even her bag looks different. Nevertheless, the new CCTV image was published online, and several names for the mystery lady were put forward. One came up on more than a few occasions. The lady in question was interviewed and dismissed the claims that it was her with Georgina.
We as a family did not think the police did enough in the beginning, and that's where the failures began. Failing to retrieve very important CCTV footage, even if they didn't look at it at that time. It may have been needed at a later important date, and then they didn't have it. We kept saying that Georgina was going to the town, but because they'd been to several mobile phone shops and inquired there to see if she'd been there, and she hadn't, they then decided to dismiss that Georgina ever got to the town. Therefore, they didn't look at any CCTV. But as most people know, 18 months later, important information come to light that some important CCTV footage was found in Chapel Road. They had actually retrieved the CCTV.
It is uncertain where Georgina went after the CCTV footage. She could have all gone various ways. There was the entrance to the Gilbourne Centre. Did she go through the Gilbourne Centre and into the car park and disappeared in a car? Could Georgina have taken the back streets behind Greg's Bakery, which lead to various alleyways? Could Georgina have made her way to the train station? During police investigations, the Sussex Police did look at Georgina's travel movements. There's no evidence that she travelled anywhere by train at all that day or any time afterwards. After much publicity, a man did come forward saying that he had seen Georgina arguing with two men near where he lived. He hasn't come forward to speak to us today, but instead we've interviewed one of his friends, Mick. How reliable do you think your friend's witness report was, Mick?
I believe it to be 100%. He knew Georgina. He had a particularly good observation point and was very specific about the time it took place. I do believe that it should not ever have been discounted.
What do you think happened to Georgina personally? Do you have any theories or views on what could have happened to Georgina?
I keep an entirely open mind.
Do you think the police did enough with the investigation?
I think it's reasonable to say they did a lot, but could have done more, but I'm not privy to everything they did. They certainly were on the ball coming round this particular area, asking all the shop owners and all the residents if they'd seen anything and if there was anything on CCTV systems, etc. And they returned a number of times. But the whole scope of the police inquiry, I really don't know how big or wide it was.
And what do you want to say to the public? Is there anything you'd like to say to
I have 2 points. One is that out there somebody has a piece of the jigsaw that will help solve this mystifying event. Georgina clearly was in Worthing that morning and that afternoon. She went somewhere, she saw some people. Why have you not come forward? And I say to you, come forward. And the second part is the public in Brighton. Georgina very much was connected with Brighton and visited quite frequently. Somebody somewhere will know about it. Please come forward.
Is there anything else you'd like to add at all?
No, my heart goes out to Georgina's family. Obviously, as time goes on, it gets increasingly difficult for them. And if there is anyone who has any information or believe they have something, please come forward.
Many allegations have been made since the time Georgina went missing. There's been stories of her overdosing on drugs, committing suicide, many other horrific acts. None of these were proved to be true, and there's been no factual evidence to support these allegations. Nearby to where Georgina was seen arguing, there's a building site called Tevill Gate. The police said to Georgina's mother that it was impossible to climb over the fence. Georgina's mother, Andrea, proved them wrong and climbed over the fence and found it quite easy to get over there. Most notably, the family requested that the work on Tevill Gate development site in Worthing was stopped while a full search of the site was made. The police refused to do this.
Every missing person should have a voice. Every missing person deserves an opportunity to be found. 4 years ago, on March 7th, 2018, Georgina Gharsallah vanished without a trace from the seaside town of Worthing. Her family are still searching for answers, but still nothing but a deafening silence. Georgina is a mother, a daughter, a sister, a young lady with her entire life ahead of her. This is an appeal to anyone with any information at all. Please come forward. Let's find Georgina and bring her home.
The investigation has now been 4 years and still no closure. If anyone knows what has happened to Georgina, please come forward. You can always make an anonymous contact via Crime Stoppers on 0800 555 111 or by filling in a form via their Crime Stoppers website. Someone somewhere knows what has happened to Georgina.
So, initially, how did your family react to her disappearance? I'm sure all of this must be really hard to talk about, so I'm really thankful that you're doing it.
Obviously, people go missing under all sorts of circumstances. Nothing had crossed our minds at the time that Georgina was a missing person. It never, ever entered our heads, really. We never thought of anything sinister had happened to her, the possibilities like she had come to some harm or anything. We just thought maybe she was with friends the first few days, because Georgina liked to be with people. When she didn't have anything else to do, she liked to spend time with other people. She didn't really like being alone. When it got a bit after a few days, we started getting a bit concerned, because Georgina, we thought maybe she'd had an accident, or she was in hospital, or she was ill and she couldn't get hold of us. By that time, we decided to try and contact her friends, and that's what we did for the next 4 or 5 days. And it took us that time to try and contact people, and they didn't respond, or some had just said they hadn't seen her for a year, or etc. Things like this. We just never thought she was a missing person. It was just never entered our minds. It was just not a possibility. Now every memory of Georgina, it becomes a lifetime to hold on to now. She was a young mum of 30. She went to the town and never came home again. And in the very beginning, when I first started putting out posters the first few weeks, I was quite apprehensive, because I thought Georgina will be livid. She'll be absolutely livid when she comes home and sees these all around the area, around at the end of the road and the street, because I just thought I shouldn't really be doing it, but it was sort of part of the procedure, really.